Donkey Jaw Projects.
What's up, people now? How you doing? This is day 56 of 100 days of making comics. And I did my stuff today. This morning I did about 10 minutes more or less on just doing sketches and stuff. I guess it's kind of technically concept art, but I'm not counting it towards the comic. This is just my sketch time, doing the mech stuff or whatnot. Then today I had an opportunity to do some writing for about an hour. So I did that, and it's interesting. I got some stuff done, some stuff figured out, but it's stuff that won't necessarily appear in the comic. But writing for Glyph, and what I'm doing now is just kind of trying to find the core of the story, basically, and it's interesting. Like, as you go, like, as you start to write your story, you have to, like, you know, figure out what the character's motivations are and stuff. Like, the basic idea kind of, or like, of what, like, things that will happen has to do with, you know, my character. He's a graffiti artist whose art kind of comes to life, and that's like kind of his superpower type of thing. And what he does with that, he lives in a place called Bap City, and in that city, really in that whole world or whatever, a thing called the Lunar Lore Tournament is a big deal. It's basically like a gladiator slash football slash what's the one in Harry Potter, the Quidditch, like it's like Olympics, all that stuff rolled into one. It's just like this huge thing that pretty much their society is based around. Like, everybody is some way, shape, or form involved in the Lunar Lore tournaments. And in Bap City, they focus mostly on the culture of hip-hop. Like, that's like an ancient culture that they're kind of digging up and trying to learn more about, that they have never, it's foreign to them. It's from another planet. And it's, kind of found within the ruins of that planet. If it's not obvious, obviously that planet is Earth. So anyways, they use this lore and the ancient stuff that they find, they use in the context of a big sporting event type of thing. I mean, it's not even just one event, it's all encompassing, kind of like the Olympics. There's many different events and things like that. And hip-hop is just one thing that they derive their lore from. They also might derive it from other things too, that they find. But for all intents and purposes, the city where my story takes place is all wrapped up in the hip-hop culture side of things. So anyway, that's kind of just a basic idea of like the world, I guess, that a lot of this will take place in, and that the story is all wrapped up in. Now, that all being said, that doesn't tell anything about any real like story or anything. Like, that's just things, elements within a story. It's not a story. So I'm thinking, okay, well, this has been like a struggle for me since I started doing the Glyph mini comics that I did, is that I didn't really have a personality even for Glyph, or I didn't even have a story. So I tried to build some characters around him, and this was me just practicing, trying to figure out how to make comics and stuff. This wasn't like me trying to make my magnum opus. But now, I am still not making my magnum opus, but I am trying to make a more substantial story. Something that actually has story in it, like that actually has some meaning, some themes, that kind of thing. So I've tried to do that for a while, but not known how, and I just keep trying different things, and I've kind of written and rewritten this whole thing, not like a whole full script, but just like the basic outline and ideas of it a few different times. This is my latest attempt, and even in this attempt I changed things up drastically from what I was originally writing, and it'll probably continue that way until I get a more solidified situation going. But today what I was doing kind of flipped the script on everything I was writing previously. It's weird, like I made kind of these sketches, like, oh, this happens, like the mother dies, or this happens, like, and like, but I didn't know why. Like, so as I started exploring why some of these things happen, I'm like, okay, well, in order for that to happen, this has to happen. In order for this has to happen, something else, we need to figure out something else, And it mostly kind of revolved around, defining Glyph's family. And it reminds me of like looking into music or even artists and stuff like that. Like, this is something when people talk about their influences and stuff, they often get on this tangent or this kind of way of thinking where they say, well, you look up one artist and you start looking into that person, and you dig what they do, you start trying to find out their style, how it works, and then you also find out what their inspirations were. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. So you go look into the things that were that person's inspirations, and you kind of go through the same process, and you end up looking for noticing their inspirations, and it just keeps going back further and further and further, and it seems like we're gonna get to a point where we're at cave drawings and stuff like that. So it's like it feels like it's never ending, and that's kind of how this feels. It's like, okay, I've developed how this character does this, but in order for that to happen, I have to figure out these three things to find out why this character does this, or why another character is doing something else to affect what this character is doing. And so it's like this, you just keep asking more and more questions, like, well, why does that happen? Well, why does that happen? How does this come about? Why does that happen? And you just build it and build it and build it. And that's kind of what I'm doing right now. And I have a sort of idea of what I want this story to be about, but I didn't come at this particular project with like a story in mind specifically of what, hey, I want to write a story about this particular thing. I mean, one thing I've written down is like, I kind of was thinking this story could be about fear, like dealing with fear and embarrassment, and pushing forward anyways, and trying to, you have a goal, but you have also all these fears that are like in front of that goal, stopping you, and just kind of moving forward despite that. And that's kind of what Glyph's thing is going to be. And because I feel like Glyph will be like kind of an ongoing thing eventually, like I think it'll be mini-series, like I'll do like, at least for the first one, I'll do like a 4 to 5 issue or something, mini-series, something like that. And it'll be one full complete story, and then I figure like, I could keep going in that world for a long time. And it could maybe become an ongoing thing. And also with this theme of fear, like, to me, like, it's weird because a story is like, you think of a story as it has like a specific point or whatever, and it tells one full thing, especially if it's like a movie or something, and it's from the beginning, middle, end, and then that's it, unless there's like sequels and stuff. But a story that's not a series, And you know, it's like somebody might have conquered something in that story, but you know, in real life, you might conquer something, but then get tested in it again, you know, and again and again and again. So it's like kind of strengthening your resolve as you go, or weakening it as you go. And you might even go back into old patterns, bowing to that fear again, you know, or whatever it is. So I figure, like, since real life is like that, you can keep telling the same story, I guess, for a series. I mean, there's also this idea that, like, it's just a very long, drawn out, you know, story arc for the main character. But I don't know that I need to write more stories to get to the point where I feel like I can do that, I think. So I don't know. It's interesting to think about. But, you know, some stories is like, I don't want my story to be never ending, though. Like, I don't want it to be like this thing where it's like, you know, the creators of like this character have already come and gone and died, and you know, this character should be like 110 years old, you know, at this point, but he's still a teenager running around, you know, jumping on buildings and whatnot. So, you know, I don't know. I don't want to get into that. Like, I would like my characters to, I don't know, I want to tell different stories, and I feel like it's okay if they have an ending and that's it, you know? I don't know. So that's kind of the stuff I'm thinking about. I'm curious, you know, how do you guys get to the heart of your stories? Do you think, I mean, to me, a lot of comics that I read are more just kind of plot, you know, a lot of just things happen, you know, there's a progression of things that happen, but it's rare to find one that's hitting at the heart of some kind of emotion or theme sometimes. So, you know, and maybe that's just the plight of reading one issue. It's such a small snippet. One issue is really a small snippet. And even like a 5-issue miniseries or something is really still just, you know, maybe 20 to 30 minutes in a movie, maybe, you know, like it probably equates to something like that. I don't know. What do you guys think? So yeah, that's my thoughts. Just writing stuff, and I'm really realizing that it's fun and it's excruciating all at the same time, you know. I mean, I really love it. I want to write as many stories as I possibly can, and have them have meaning and have them be good, you know. But at the same time, you know, I'm stretching, you know. It's this whole thing with the art and with the writing. It's like, it's very excruciating. Like if you're bodybuilding or something, you know, like you're tearing the muscles, and you might be new at this, you know. It's not like you've been doing this for years and it's like, oh, just another day at the gym. For me, it's still like, oh, I'm still getting through my first couple weeks or couple months, you know, and I'm still not even sure if I'm going to keep up with this, you know. I mean, I don't feel that way. I am going to keep up with this with the comics, but I guess I'm at least past that point. But as far as the skill level, I just feel like I'm constantly breaking up new ground, you know, and mixing metaphors. But you know, I think you know what I mean, though. But it's crazy. I actually looked at my time I've spent on comics this year so far, and you know, what are we, January, February, March, we're 3 months in, almost, not fully, but 2.5 months in, and my time that I've spent is, you know, still just about a work week. You know, that's about as much time as I've spent, because I track my time on my comics, and it's like, it's so crushing. Like, you spend time on it every day, and the time actually only amounts to about a week of, you know, like 40 hours. So I don't know. I mean, it's more than 40 hours, but not much. So anyways, that's pretty much all I got today. A little bit of a rambly one. Hopefully you guys got something from it. I really appreciate you guys watching and checking it out, checking out my videos, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Peace out.